In this video, just going to talk about the importance of getting your air conditioning checked periodically in your vehicle, and not just when you notice that the air conditioning is no longer working. So this is my daughter's new car, and it's a 2014, so it's now 11 years old, but it's only done 28,000 miles. And I don't know whether the air conditioning has ever had a regas on this car. We've got the full service history, but we don't have all the receipts. But I suspect it probably hasn't, because it's done such low mileage. But what people don't realise is all cars slowly do leak the refrigerant or the gas inside the air conditioning system. They shouldn't do, they should be sealed. But the reality is all cars leak about 50 grams of gas per year. And over time your air conditioning will become less effective, but if you leave it too long it can start ruining the compressor, and that's a very expensive job to replace. And it's even more important on electric cars with heat pumps, because the air conditioning system is not just doing the air conditioning in the summer, but it's also doing your heating in the winter. And again, if this refrigerant gets low, not only does it affect the performance of the air conditioning, with a car with a heat pump it will also affect the performance of the heating. And if that refrigerant gets too low, it can then ruin your air conditioning compressor. And on electric cars, the air conditioning compressor is high voltage and expensive. And the Renault Zoe in particular can be prone to issues with the heating system, and they sometimes struggle to generate enough heat. And quite often it's simply because the air conditioning needs a regas. So I'm sure many of you would have seen a machine like this in your local garage. And what these do is connect up to the vehicle, and they simply suck all the refrigerant out of the vehicle and then weigh it. And inside here is simply a set of scales. So it sucks the gas out of the vehicle and then weighs it. It then pressurizes the system in the vehicle and does a pressure test to make sure there's no major leaks. And then if it's all happy, it then puts the correct amount of gas back into the vehicle. And that is all done by weight, because there's some scales in here which is measuring how much gas it's got on board and how much gas it sucks out of the vehicle. And then it knows exactly how much gas to put back in. And it also does the same with the oil, because there is oil in the system as well. So any oil that it removes from the car, you then put back in when you put the gas back in. So when paying for an air conditioning regas, ideally you only want to be paying for the amount of refrigerant that they have to top your vehicle back up with. So rather than paying a fixed fee, it's probably better to use someone that's charging a base fee for the job and then charging per gram for the amount of additional refrigerant that your car actually needs. But some cars, like the Renault Zoe, uses 1,000 grams of refrigerant, so that's a kilogram. So if your car is particularly low, it can be rather expensive. So on this 1 litre petrol car, we've got a sticker here which shows the type of refrigerant that the car uses and the type of oil. And surprisingly, this uses the R1234YF refrigerant, which is very unusual for a car of this age and for a combustion engine vehicle, because this is the more modern, environmentally friendly gas, which was first used on electric vehicles, and even electric vehicles of this age weren't actually using that refrigerant. So Hyundai were quite ahead of their time. And then this is how much refrigerant that the system needs, and it's 400 grams plus or minus 25 grams. So the 25 grams is the tolerance that you've got either way of the 400 grams. And then this is showing us that it needs PAG oil. This R1234YF refrigerant is very expensive stuff. But traditionally, combustion engine vehicles were using the older R134A refrigerant, which is about a third or maybe even a quarter of the cost of this newer, more environmentally friendly stuff. And that's why when you go into a garage, you'll often see 2 air conditioning machines, and that's because you've got one for the older gas and one for the newer gas, because you have a gas bottle in here containing that gas. Or you can now get dual machines that contain both types of gas, all within the one unit. So let's connect the machine up to this car and see whether this has lost any refrigerant and see if it passes the pressure test. So we've got the high connection here, and the low connection is down there. So to make that a bit easier, I'm just going to remove the airbox and the piping there, because this also gives me a chance to check the air filter, and that is nice and clean. So it was changed at the last recorded service. That was a Hyundai main dealer, and yes, that's a genuine Hyundai filter, and it says made in Korea there. So yeah, they did do what they said. So if anyone has come across this video because they want to know how to change the air filter or how to remove the filter box here, then there is a couple of 10mm hex bolts to remove, one there and one from there, and then this housing is still held at the back on another rubber mounting, but that is just pushed in, so you can get underneath and push that up. And then this hose is held down in that rubber mounting, and again that's push fit, so you can pull that up. It takes a bit of levering, but that one and that one are just pushed in, whereas the two front ones are held in with bolts. And then we can remove that, and we've got better access to that low connection there on the air conditioning line. So I'm going to put the air conditioning machine into the recovery setting, and I'm going to say I want to manually recover the refrigerant in the system, and I've now got to connect up the hoses. So this is the high pressure one, and we put the high pressure line on there, and then the low pressure is there, making sure we don't lose that cap. And they're both connected up, and then I can start the recovery. So this is now going to empty the gas out of the car and weigh it. As you can see, we're at 5 grams already. It also heats the gas to separate the oil from the gas as well, and it's going to put that in that bottle there. But it's looking like it was actually very low in this car, so it probably has never been done, so it's a good job I'm doing this. So that's now done it, and it is removed 35 grams of refrigerant from the system and 1 milliliter of oil. So it's making me wonder now, was the air conditioning actually working? Because it wouldn't do with that little amount of refrigerant in the system. We've only just recently bought this car, but I'm sure I tested it. But anyway, it's clearly not going to work with only 35 grams of refrigerant in, and it should have 400. So clearly this is all original, it's never been regassed, it's 14 years old, and that has lost 365 grams over 14 years. So now I'm going to do a 25-minute vacuum test on the system, and now that's going to suck through the hoses, put a vacuum on the system to test for any leaks. But that's actually opposite to what the system is normally doing, because the system will be full of gas and all the seals and connections have got pressure on them because it's pressured up from the inside and gas is trying to escape. But what the machine is now doing is sucking on it, so it's going to see whether any air can get past those seals from the other direction. So that's just completed the half-hour vacuum test, and it passed just fine. So now I've just got to put the refrigerant and oil back in. So when it comes to putting the refrigerant in, I'm going to put 420 grams back in, which is 5 grams off the maximum, and that just means it will last for many years, because that extra 20 grams is another 10-12 months worth of leakage really in reality. So let's just say enter, start, and that's now going to fill the car back up. And it fills up very fast. It only takes about 30 seconds to put that refrigerant back in. So I said 420 grams, so we're at 350 now. And now that's doing the last bit, we're at 380. 420. There we go. So that should now be cutting off. Then I can disconnect the hoses and test it out. So that's now finished. So I can disconnect these hoses. And then once you've disconnected the hoses and press enter, it then removes the gas from the hoses back into the bottle in the machine. So I'll just put the air housing back on and then I can test the air conditioning. So it's actually 18 degrees today, which is very warm in the UK for early April. But that's now coming through cold. It's not ice cold though, but clearly that's what it's like in these cars, because the refrigerant is now at its proper level and the system is all good. And clearly it desperately needed it because it was very low, well, almost empty. So this car has probably never had a regas in its life, and this is now 11 years old. So getting an air conditioning regas is one of those jobs that people don't do until their air conditioning stops working. And sometimes that can then be too late and you don't want to ruin your compressor. And that's even more important, as I said, if you've got an electric car, particularly if you've got an electric car with a heat pump. So get your air conditioning regassed every 3 years minimum, but certainly every 4 years, and that's going to save you money in the long run. Okay, I'll leave it there. If you found this video useful, please do click the thumbs up. That really does help, and I'll see you on the next video. The videos I make on this channel are primarily to help others and share knowledge. If you found a video helpful, please show your appreciation by at least clicking the thumbs up button, and leaving a comment also helps too, as does subscribing to the channel. All of this is free of charge. I do not use paid memberships or Patreon, which is how most YouTubers earn their money. I only earn from the YouTube ad commissions. But under every video on this channel is a super thanks button. So if you found a video particularly useful, or maybe it saved you money or time, then please consider a donation using the super thanks button. You could buy me a coffee, a pint, or contribute to the running cost of this channel. There's over 1100 videos on this channel now, so please have a browse, use the search, and have a look at the playlists.